Meanwhile, a breach of another kind at Apple after intimate photos of celebrities, including Jennifer Lawrence and Kate Upton, were hacked and posted to an online chat room. So how safe is anything you store in your computer or in the cloud? Julia Borston has more.
Apple investigated the high-profile hack attack and said it found that the theft of the photos were not due to the breach of any of Apple's systems, including iCloud or Find My iPhone, saying, quote, "We've discovered that certain celebrity accounts were compromised by a very targeted attack on user names, passwords, and security questions, a practice that has become all too common on the internet."
Apple needs to do 3 or 4 things. One, show care and concern for the celebrities who have had their phones hacked and their data hacked. Second, use any and all social media channels they can to send out information to their fans. And 3, actively investigate.
Apple says it's continuing to work with law enforcement to identify the criminals, the company recommending that all users always use a strong password and enable two-step verification. This demo of Google's two-step authentication shows how users are sent a code that frequently changes to another device. It must be entered in addition to a password. That extra step can block hacking software that repeatedly guesses passwords. Now we can expect storage companies to strictly limit password guesses and strongly encourage two-step verification, as well as more complex security codes.
We've now got a balancing act between the user's desire for security versus the user's desire for convenience. Something that's convenient isn't necessarily secure, and something that's very secure isn't necessarily convenient. And I think that what's been happening over the past couple of months with all of these breaches of credit cards, of photos, of documents, I think you're going to find consumers more than willing to go through the extra steps.
So consumers could face more headaches as they try to remember all those new, tougher passwords. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Julia Borston in Los Angeles.
Tim Ryan joins us now to discuss more important ways that consumers and businesses can protect themselves against hackers. He's the head of cybersecurity investigations at the risk advisory firm Kroll. Tim, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Do you think that this attack on these celebrities' data was simply a rogue who went in and got their username and their passwords, or does it suggest a deeper problem, which Apple says it is not, a deeper problem with data that are stored on the cloud?
Well, I think it is a deeper problem with data that's stored on the cloud, in that when somebody can purport to be somebody that they're not and get access to the victim's data, that is a deeper cloud problem. That is not an individual problem.
You know, there was a time, Tim, that people were really very worried to put any of their private information, make a purchase on the internet, and now we all do this. Do you think that part of the problem is we become too trusting, maybe too loose, whether it's Apple or Amazon or Google or Twitter?
I think that it's become so commonplace to put our data on the cloud that, as you said, people are not looking at the security implications of doing it. That said, I think in the next 5 years, almost all our data is going to be in the cloud. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we're going to be able to walk back from this part.
So what I'm hearing you say here is that the fact that they got the username, they were able to crack the password, that gave them access to stuff that was secured on the cloud. So it's really a kind of a distinction without a difference, whether the problem was really with the cloud or with the phone itself. In the piece that Julia just did, she showed one way to protect or sort of do a belt and suspenders approach to your password, and that is a second verification or a second authentication. Do you think people are really going to go for that, where you have to get another message sent to you to a separate device, or is that just going to be too much of a troublesome thing to do?
No, I think it can become part of a normal security practice. I know that when high net worth individuals come to Kroll because they have concerns about stuff like this, we always recommend two-step authentication. So I think it will become just commonplace as the long passwords are becoming more and more common. The thing is that these cloud providers, though, they can mandate the use of two-step authentication so that becomes more widespread.
All right, real quickly, if you run a small business or medium-sized business and you don't have a huge IT department to help you with all of this stuff, any important piece of advice you can give business owners on how to protect their data?
Sure. If you are storing sensitive data in the iCloud today, you must immediately change all your passwords. if you have the ability to use two-factor authentication for any online account, you should use it.
Does two-factor just make it twice as hard to crack? But is it any different from sort of that one-factor authentication? In other words, if you can beat me on this password, why couldn't you beat me on the one that the company sends to me?
Actually, most two-factor authentication requires that the second factor go to like a cell phone. So the bad guy would have to both steal your password and steal your cell phone.
I see. Okay, Tim, thank you very much. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Tim Ryan, Kroll Cybersecurity.